Today on Mild versus Wild,
I've got $15,000.
and I've got $45,000.
And we're building 6-liter Powerstroke engines.
So we came to Poplar Branch, North Carolina to visit Kill Devil Diesel.
This is Mild versus Wild. Horsepower at any cost. Hey guys, we're here today in Poplar Branch, North Carolina in the northern part of the Outer Banks region. We flew down from Akron, Ohio to visit with Kill Devil Diesel and shop owner Jared Alderson.
Jared started Kill Devil Diesel in 2017 and quickly made a name for himself and the shop. He took his machining background and his time working as an engine builder for Monster Jam and put that collective knowledge toward diesel engines. In fact, monster trucks are still part of Jared's life because his shop sits on Dennis Anderson's Gravedigger compound.
Kill Devil Diesel does a lot of complete engine builds, as well as cylinder head work, cam kits, pistons, and other parts and pieces that are made in-house. The shop doesn't shy away from any of the big 3 platforms, and they do work on Powerstroke, Duramax, and Cummins engines. However, the 6-liter and 6.4 Powerstroke stuff is really what keeps the shop busiest.
All that hard work and shop growth helped Kill Devil Diesel earn recognition as our America's Best Diesel Shop back in 2019 as well. Each year, we're impressed by what this diesel shop continues to do, and that's why we're here today to get some 6-liter Powerstroke engines built. Again, our mild budget is $15,000 and our wild budget is $45,000, which both should make for excellent 6-liter builds. Once we break down what goes into each build, we'll compare them for total horsepower, horsepower output per dollar, competitiveness, drivability, reliability, and ease of upgrading to see what build comes out on top. Now let's go see the shop and talk to Jared. Whoa, sweet shop. Hey Jared.
How's it going?
Good to see you.
Yes, sir. Good to see you.
Good to see you, Jared. Thanks for having us.
Yes, sir. Thank you guys for coming down.
Absolutely. No, we're excited to talk about some 6-liter Powerstroke builds.
Absolutely. We're glad to have you.
Yeah.
So, we've been working together for a little while. Glad to finally have you here.
Absolutely. So, Jared, you know, we're going to be talking about some Powerstroke stuff, both on the mild and the wild side of budgets here.
Yep.
But it's both of our first times being down here at Kill Devil Diesel.
Yep.
And, you know, we'd love to see a little bit of the shop if you don't mind touring us around.
Yeah, let's check it out.
All right.
So this is pretty much where everything comes in the door. It's kind of our holding pattern here. So we'll go through a couple thousand new cylinder heads a year. We also build a few hundred new rebuilt engines a year. And so everything kind of comes in here and works its way through our production facility here, and then works its way up to assembly, which we'll check out in a minute. So used engines come in here and they come down to our teardown area back here. And we don't have a whole lot going on in the teardown table right now today, but this is where everything comes in and gets disassembled and kind of a preliminary inspection. And so we go through and make sure first it's a good usable core before we dump in, you know, hours and hours into machining. Yeah. And we throw away a lot of stuff, throw away a lot of lifters and springs, and we don't reuse any of, you know, valve train. Don't cause any problems, you know. So we put all new valve train in all the engines. So we're really after the blocks, the cranks, the good usable core parts. So everything comes through. We don't use an abrasive cleaning system. We use a chemical parts bath to get all the oil and grease off.
Yeah.
They go through a chemical rust removal process here. They soak overnight, and that way there's no abrasives and no risk of contamination getting down in the block. We also use a soda blaster that blasts all of the grease, gunk, grime, rust off. Yeah. That doesn't use, again, there's no chance of contamination, abrasive. That stuff dissolves in water, and it's actually been really a really good addition to our cleaning process. So after everything gets qualified and kind of pre-inspected, it comes over here to our downdraft table, which is a kind of a prep area here. And so most of our cylinder heads that we do are new. We do some local machine work, and we've had customers ship us stuff from all over the country that we'll go through and do like a crack inspection, magnetic particle inspection. Okay. And then we'll do a pressure test here with a Magnaflux gun and a magnetic particle test. And make sure everything's good to go. Again, before we invest time and money in machining, make sure we're not machining scrap metal. So everything, this includes blocks, heads, cranks, everything comes over here to be prepped and inspected. It's a really, really critical component before moving on to the next step.
Yeah.
So the blocks come this way. The blocks are after they're qualified, pressure tested, inspected, all the threads are tapped. make sure that there's no pinhole leaks, again, that it's a good, rebuildable block. The blocks go into our CNC machine, and it does a blueprint CNC bore, deck, chamfer. We'll also do, O-ringing or fire ringing in there. We'll do sleeving machining operations in there, and we also machine several thousand pistons a year in there.
Okay.
And we'll
does a little bit of everything.
Yeah, it's kind of our, we push a lot through there. We depend on that heavily.
How long have you had the RMC?
Let's see, we started with that one, which we've had pretty much since we started, and then we've had this one for a couple years now. Yeah. And RMC has been really good to work with. They've kind of helped get our feet wet for programming and fixturing and stuff, and then we've started to take some of that and run with it and do more of our own fixturing and programming and stuff here lately.
Yeah.
So,
nice.
Yep. And so,
it's kind of a unique thing in the diesel world. Not a lot of guys are machine shops as well as assembly and all that stuff.
Yeah, and that's all we do. We get a lot of calls for, can you install our engines and this and that. We stick to what we do, and we have a network of dealers and installers, but we don't service vehicles. We only we only do the machine work and the assembly of engine components. We're not a repair shop.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah. Awesome.
So the cylinder heads go down here in that machine. That's where we'll do our CNC seat and guide machining. We'll remove or core drill valve seats either on new heads. A lot of times the head castings, they don't come with proper valve to guide clearance, so we'll go through and do all the final machining here. On the casting, we'll do the O-ringing, resurfacing, and so everything that we touch, even though it's a brand new head, everything is final machined here in house. And then we'll do the valve job, do a multi-angle. It's for a three-angle valve job, 5-angle valve job. It's actually like a 7-angle with radiuses top and bottom that we do to kind of complete the valve seat profile that we'll do in the SERDI machine there. Then everything goes through final cleaning, and it goes up front for inspection and then final assembly. The blocks, after they're done machining here, they move this way towards our CNC hone, and towards the crank and rotating assembly moves this way towards our balancer. The blocks, after they're bored, chamfered, they are all of our engines are treated to a torque plate cylinder hone. What the torque plate does is it simulates the stress of the cylinder head fasteners on the block. And so when you bore it, it's completely round. When you torque the head to it, it distorts it out of round. So we want to final hone it to size so it's perfectly round to simulate the stress of the head torque, so you're sealing a round ring and a round hole.
Yeah.
Yep. And so the rotating assembly components work their way down here. We have our CWT balancer. It's been a really instrumental part of our operation. Everything gets balanced from mild to wild. Everything gets balanced. After the crankshafts are balanced, we polish the journals to ensure a smooth surface finish for the bearings. Is really super critical. Then everything is kind of double, triple checked before it goes up front to assembly. And it gives us a lot of control doing everything here in house. It gives us a lot of control over the final product, where we're not outsourcing and relying on on other shops to do stuff. And again, it gives us a chance to put several sets of eyes on things to make sure that nothing gets missed. We've really worked over the years to develop a pretty stringent quality control process. It's been pretty important on a modern diesel engine.
Yeah, that's great. Now, Jared, how many engines do you guys have coming through in a given year? Do you have an average that you guys are working on?
We'll do 200 to 300 engines a year, which,
oh, wow,
to be honest, is more than I ever intended to do.
Yeah.
And so it's been a whirlwind trying to keep up with that. We do several hundred more engine kits. We call it a build-in-a-box. It comes with a machine block, an overhaul kit, so pistons, rings, bearings, gaskets, and it's kind of a deconstructed build-it-yourself type package.
Okay.
Those have been popular, A, because they don't have to wait to go through our assembly process, and B, because a lot of people want to do it themselves.
Yeah.
So we build a few hundred more of those too a year. That it's the same parts that we assemble here. Goes through all the same machining, all the same prep work, and so we'll do 200 to 300 engines a year, plus maybe another 100, 150 of the building the boxes a year.
Yeah.
And like I said, that's more than we ever really intended to do. And we're not really in the business to do the most engines. We try to do the best engines we can. And and they're all different. They're all custom hand built. We're not really a cookie cutter type operation. They each engine has a certain machining and build criteria from the start from the time it's torn down to the time that it goes through the machining operation. It's all built, machined, and everything for that cushmer.
Great. Yeah, well, that's what we're expecting on our builds, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yep.
So, Jared, this is just half the building, most of the machining area here. How many square feet do you have total?
We are, in a production area, we're about 7,000 square feet, and then we have about another 3,000 square feet of office space.
Okay. Yep. Very cool. Well, let's go check out the other side.
Sure. Working this way, we do a lot of piston coating as an option for the engines, and so we have a few different products that we offer. Do powder coating for kind of dress up stuff. Occasionally we'll powder coat compressor covers. We'll do Cerakote coating on like exhaust manifolds, even firearms and stuff occasionally. We also do thousands of pistons a year. We'll do a thermal barrier on the top of the piston as a kind of a preventative to help protect the piston below. Modern diesel engines operate at such high temperature and pressures. Sometimes anything you can do, especially on engines that are prone to cracking pistons, anything you can do to help give it that extra layer of protection. If you have a bad injector, you're towing up a heavy grade and something goes wrong, it gives you that extra little bit of time before something goes wrong. So.
Yeah, it's a popular thing these days.
Absolutely, yeah. We also do some dry film lubricants on bearings and piston skirts on engines. For example, the 6 liters you guys are interested in have a thermal coating, a dry film lubricant on the skirt from the factory. But like 7.3, some of the other engine options, some of the other engine applications don't come with a skirt coating. So that's here's a 7.3 piston that we've done the skirt coating to. They didn't come with the skirt coating from the factory like the 6.0s and 6.4s do, but we've applied this. It's a dry film lubricant that's been pretty effective. It allows us actually to run a little bit tighter piston to wall, a little bit tighter ring control package, which helps make a little bit more efficient engine package. So this is our parts room here. And so then parts come this way into our parts department here. These are some of our core parts. We have a lot of SPI valves and springs that we use. They've been a wonderful partner for us. We've got camshafts, ARP head studs. This kind of gets into our shipping, our boxing department, our order fulfillment department. This is our shipping receiving desk here. And so this is where we create a lot of our orders. When we get an order from a customer, it comes through here and gets pulled from our shelves, boxed and shipped to go out. It's where we check in all of our new product, and then everything goes to our boxing department over there.
So Jared, you got a good amount of parts in here, and I know parts of inventory has kind of been an issue these last couple of years. How much do you guys stock kind of at any given time?
We try to stock as much as we can. It's certainly been an interesting battle, the last few years, post-COVID, post-apocalypse, whatever we're in now. And so it's been it's been pretty wild. I will say a lot of the manufacturing has started to get better. And so we typically stock enough to do, 50, 60 engines at a time. Okay. Sometimes, certain parts will go on back order and we have to pause on those builds and pick up on something else. And then when those parts come back in stock, we can resume those engine orders.
Yeah. Very cool.
Jared, we know the Powerstroke platform is kind of where your guys' forte is, but how often do you get Cummins and Duramax engines in here?
We stay as busy as we can keep up with the Powerstroke stuff. We do occasionally get Duramax engine builds and Cummins engine builds in here. Right now we're trying to really work on our delivery times for Powerstroke engines. We do 7.3, 6.0, 6.4, and 6.7 engine builds. Those have been super popular, and then we do have some packages on our website for Duramax and Cummins. We have a Cummins cylinder head that's been very popular. We do a lot of local machine work for shops around here for Duramax and Cummins heads. Right now with lead time and parts availability. Yeah, right now the Powerstroke stuff keeps us busier than we can keep up with. Cool. We can do them. We've got the tooling and the fixtures and parts in stock for a lot of those applications, but it's all we can do to keep up with the Powerstroke stuff right now.
Yeah, no, very good. And speaking of building those engines, that happens kind of over on this side, right?
That's where this happens up here. Yeah. So right through here is our assembly room. So everything kind of works its way through the shop this way. And so after everything is final clean, it comes into this room. So this is our assembly room in here. This is where we assemble several thousand cylinder heads a year and where we build a few hundred engines a year.
Yeah.
So these are our most popular item here, really. It's our cast iron cylinder heads. And so these would be for like a mild build. Part of the reason that these are pretty popular is they solve a lot of the issues that the factory heads have. The factory 6-liter heads are notorious for cracks, are notorious for blown head gaskets. And so as part of our machining process, we put new seats that are harder so they don't crack like the factory seats do. Mm-hmm. And then we put an O-ring in the cylinder head, which is like a rubber O-ring. It's a high carbon steel metal O-ring that's pressed into the head. And then that presses down on the gasket and applies more clamping force through the layers of the gasket to help prevent head gasket leaks. Yeah. And so it solves a couple of the major issues with the 6-liter right off the bat. And these have been super popular. And then we have our aluminum cylinder heads as well. Right. SPI has been a wonderful partner we use for a lot of our valve train components, valves, springs. They happen to be a sponsor of this program, so we thank them very much for all of their partnership over the years. And we're very proud to put SPI products in thousands of cylinder heads a year. And they work beautifully. I can't say enough about them. They've been a wonderful partner.
Yeah, and I'm excited to talk about the Icon heads, which will be on the Wild build. I know that's something that you guys have had in the making the last few years.
Yep, we've had our manufacturing partner, Mass Motorsports, is kind of an engineering level partner on those, and they are experts in the world of the LS cylinder head, and we've learned a lot from them in the manufacturing and the casting process, and so those have been really cool to bring to market. So we kind of have our heavy duty, cast iron cylinder heads, great for heavy towing and daily driving. We have our as cast Icon series cylinder head, and then we do a CNC ported version of that comes with bigger valves.
Okay.
And so that's kind of been a The Wild engine for sure will come with the CNC ported oversized valves. The standard 425 horse engine will come with the cast iron heads, although we do offer the Icon heads as an upgrade.
All right, so Jared, the cylinder heads are awesome, but I see a couple complete engines down here. What's kind of down here on this side?
Let's check them out. So after machining, engines work their way into our assembly room, and this one here is short block, ready for cylinder heads. We have a couple of full-time assemblers here that work pretty steady getting engines out the door, and each engine builder starts from a bare block and builds it to a complete engine. There's not a lot of assembly line type stuff. It's one assembler, and when the engine's complete, comes with a complete birth certificate of all the blueprinting and bore specs and all that, and we double check everything we did in the back.
Yep.
And the clearances, piston wall, bearing, camshaft degree, everything there, and then they're ready for cylinder heads. We have a couple complete engine packages down here. That's kind of an example of our mild versus our wild engine builds.
Yeah.
And our mild engine build would be about a 425 horsepower engine package there. That is complete from turbo to oil pan. Comes with injectors. Takes a lot of the guesswork out of the packages. That one would be great for towing, daily driving, kind of a heavy duty upgrade over what the factory engines come with. And then this guy here is a full competition engine, ready for events like the Ultimate Callout Challenge, drag racing, sled pulling, billet block, ported heads, sheet metal intake, pretty much as rowdy as it gets.
Well, now you're talking my language, Jared. This engine's killer, which I think brings us into the details of each of our builds. So
yeah, you ready to learn more about them?
I would love to.
Cool.
Let's do it.
All right.
So Jared, it's been really great seeing around the shop, and you showed us all the different processes that go into your engine builds, and I'm really excited to get into the mild build here. To reiterate, I'm coming in with $15,000, and this is kind of your run-of-the-mill workhorse build, and you said it's kind of your most popular build, correct?
Yeah, so what makes this one of our most popular engine packages is it takes a lot of the guesswork out of configuring all the components that you need to achieve your goals. So this is popular for daily driving, towing. It has a lot of upgrades that solve a lot of the weak links over the factory engines. There's some other upgrades available for more performance and stuff, but these have been pretty popular for just solving a lot of the issues that plague the 6-liter for years. So we start with our CNC blueprint machining. CNC locates all the cylinders on the factory cylinder bore locations to the blueprint. We resurface all the blocks, torque plate hone all the blocks. The rotating assembly is completely balanced. In-house, this engine here will come with factory pistons and a factory connecting rod, factory crankshaft. And we do put 100% new valve train on all of our engines, standard. So the cam and lifters are kind of a weak link in the 6-liter Powerstroke and 6.4 and other engines. They tend to tear up cam and lifters. And so we have a custom proprietary camshaft grind that we use that A, adds a little bit of performance, and B, eliminates a lot of the wear and tear issues that these engines have. As the cores get older and older, they come in the door with 150, 200, 300,000 miles on them, and trying to ask a problematic part like a camshaft to go another 300,000 miles, we just put all new valve train in it. USA made camshaft, USA made lifters. We have push rods, either SBI push rods or a chromoly push rod available. We do brand new genuine Ford rocker arms, and then we fill the cylinder heads with new valves and springs, many of which comes from SBI. Been a great sponsor, a great partner in the industry for us. The cylinder heads are 100% new, as we discussed earlier. They are the factory cylinder heads are prone for cracks, they're prone for blown head gaskets, and so to alleviate a lot of those concerns, we start off with 100% brand new cylinder head casting, and then we go through and put all new seats and guides in it, we O-ring the deck surface for better clamping force on the gasket to help alleviate the cylinder head concerns, the head gasket concerns. We do all of our engines come standard with ARP head studs off the jump, and then we add to our long block, we add a lot of upgrades on top of that. So like Warren diesel injectors, a KC turbo, steel impeller water pump. The factory water pump is a plastic impeller. And so we try to upgrade and make things as durable as we can anywhere we touch the engine. They come with a ductile iron exhaust manifold, a higher flow ductile iron cast iron exhaust manifold. This one comes with a bulletproof diesel EGR cooler. So it's fully compliant, 50 state compliant, no issues there, and ready to go to work.
What about the fuel system you got on here?
So this will accept your factory fuel pump. We do have some other upgrades and stuff available there, but this one accepts a factory fuel pump, factory fuel filter, oil filter. This one does take a Warren diesel 155 30cc injector as well as a KC stage 1 turbo, and those two pair really well together. And we get a lot of questions all the time, what camshaft should I pick, and what heads, and what injector should I pick? And the good part about this combination is it takes a lot of that guesswork out of, we're going to pick an injector that matches the cam, that matches the turbo, and all of this works really well together. And as a package that, again, we do a lot of, and is proven, day to day.
And you kind of mentioned beforehand, this is rated about 425 horsepower.
Mm-hmm.
It's kind of like your baseline build, and a lot of people can kind of move up from that. So talk to us about upgradability, where somebody can go next, and where to take this build next.
So for folks looking for more power, we do a lot of piston coatings, kind of a protection thermal barrier coating on the top of the piston. We do that in-house. We also offer an aluminum performance cylinder head that adds more airflow. So those heads actually outflow ported factory cast iron heads, as well as increase the cylinder swirl, and fully compliant. Those have been a very popular upgrade as well. We've got other larger injector and turbo combinations as well, and a lot of customers will upgrade to a Waggler or a CP Carrillo connecting rod. Both of those are really popular for higher horsepower applications as well. And let's see, Bulletproof Diesel makes a billet water pump for them. That's popular. We also do a fluid dampener, crank dampener for them. That's also been really popular. Some customers do a Bulletproof Diesel remote oil cooler for extreme applications. And it's been there's two different grade head studs for these engines. ARP has a 2000 series stud and a 625 series stud. With upgraded turbo and injectors, we do recommend the 625 series stud. But otherwise, yeah, this has been a really stout combo for 500-600 plus horsepower, and with a connecting rod upgrade, we've had customers making way more than that on them.
And you mentioned the KC turbo. What size turbo do we have on here?
This is a 64 millimeter charger, and it's drop-in, and meaning there's no modifications to piping, no modifications to tuning required. Everything drops in, bolts right on.
So Jared, you talked upgradability. What's kind of the next level as far as price point goes when you add in those upgrades you were talking about?
So we would add our Icon series aluminum heads. If you were going to upgrade the injectors of the turbo at all, we would put a performance aluminum head on it. We would do the 625 series ARP studs, and if you were to add the fluid dampener and connecting rods, that would add about $5,000 to what this engine costs and bring in around $20,000, again, depending on turbo and injector sizing. And so we have a few different options. They're all custom hand built. These are packages that we start with, but really they're all custom hand built, per the uses of the end user, or per the needs of the end user.
Right. And obviously we have a wet sump oil system right here. What kind of oil are you using in this engine?
So a lot of customers opt to use AMSOIL to help protect their investment. We have an oil subscription program available with AMSOIL, where you can have oil delivered to your door, 1 month, 3 months, 6 months, whatever interval you choose. And AMSOIL has been a great partner to help customers protect their investment. I think they have a break-in oil, and then we recommend a 1540 oil for these as kind of the standard oil package that we recommend. And then for some of the hot rod race car stuff, we'll differentiate from that a little bit.
So Jared, we got a great engine package here. Is there anything else you kind of want to hit on before we close up? Anything to reiterate on this particular engine?
No, these have been a super popular engine package. This or a version of it with some of the upgrades we've talked about. They're pretty comprehensive. It takes a lot of the guesswork out of it. Comes with all new Ford Motorcraft genuine sensors in it, thermostat, ready to add oil and hit the road. These have been super popular. We've got a lot of them out there, and it makes it easier for us to warranty too. That way we don't have customers putting in used injectors that are going to cause problems. And this takes a lot of the guesswork and contamination and a lot of the problems that plague people in the engine reman industry. It takes a lot of those issues out of it, and we've had great success with them and got a lot of them on the road.
Definitely. Well, Jared, we can see why it's such a great platform, why you're selling it so much, and I can't wait to see the finished product. So
cool.
I'm going to go grab Greg, and he's going to come talk to you about the Wild build.
Sounds good.
All right, Jared, so now we get to have some real fun. You just chatted with Evan about the mild 6-liter Powerstroke build, which, as you said, is a very popular build here at the shop, but this one has the wow factor, has the billet goodies, and obviously it comes with a bigger budget. And to reiterate for the folks watching, I've got about $45,000 to spend on a 6-liter build, and this is about what it gets me. So if you could, walk us through what this 6-liter Powerstroke is all about.
Sure. So this is one of our full competition packages, and so this is engineered towards competition use only. Obviously, you won't be driving it to church on Sunday. Billet block, no water. So it's a short, like drag racing, sled pulling use. And basically, so we start with a Warren Diesel billet aluminum block, and we get the bare block here, and we've done all the final machine work to it. We've installed custom sleeves. It's actually a 7-liter 6-liter, and so that utilizes a 455 bore piston.
Okay.
We use a conventional 6-liter rod, a conventional 6-liter length rod. It's a Wagler Competition Products connecting rod, and so still a stock crank, which has proven to be pretty robust in these guys. The stock bed plate design on these engines is pretty stout, so we don't really get into like billet main caps and stuff. The stock cast iron bed plate is all one piece, so all the main caps are in one piece together, but we do put ARP main studs in it.
Okay.
And of course ARP head studs in it as well. This one here will also feature Jessel solid roller lifters, and then their forged steel adjustable rockers. Take a chromoly push rod. This one has our billet aluminum front cover on it. So some customers opt to run water. In this case, it's a solid filled block, so no water. But some customers, and we run those on factory blocks too, the customers want to run like an electric water pump. And we've got a few different belt routing, a few different configurations for them, for with water, without water, with power steering. This one has a Warren Diesel dual high pressure pump kit on it here, as well as our dry sump oil pump kit. So it's a custom pan that Steph's Fabrication up in New Jersey makes custom for us. It's a dry sump pan that eliminates the upper oil pan altogether and helps give you a little bit more ground clearance.
Okay.
And then we run an external dry sump pump. And this one has a sheet metal intake with an internal water to air intercooler built into it.
Oh, very cool.
Which helps cool down intake temps a little bit, but it also helps really give you a lot better diffusion, better cylinder distribution for water injection, nitrous, etc. And so on the top end, we've got a set of our billet valve covers here, which top off our CNC ported Icon Series aluminum heads. Comes with a custom oversized valve, race springs. This thing should be good for about 2,000 horsepower, 7,000 plus RPM, and should be ready to give it the beans.
Yeah, that's awesome. Again, it's a pretty big jump from the 15,000 that Evan's got on the other build to 45,000, but you're getting a lot for the money. You're
Sure.
getting the billet block, getting the billet heads, you're getting the upgraded valve train, and the custom intake up top. You want to talk a little bit about some of the fueling on an engine like this?
So this engine will get a massive set of Warren Diesel injectors. They're custom made for competition use only. They are 800% over nozzles, and KC Turbos ran those injectors on their 1,800 plus horsepower UCC pull a few years ago. Jesse's been experimenting with that and God knows bigger stuff in his competition sled pulling stuff.
Right.
So we have every inclination that they have 2,000 plus horsepower worth of fuel on tap with the dual pumps. So this has a secondary injection pump or high pressure oil pump in addition to the factory pump in the valley in the factory location. And so they're a giant injectors, obviously custom tuning with standalone harness. It's a that works in conjunction with a couple of different turbo options that we've had out front. These take a billet steel exhaust manifold made by Punch-Out Performance.
Okay.
For the drag racing side of competitions like UCC, a lot of customers run a big single turbo with a lot of nitrous, pounds of nitrous per pass. For a lot of the sled pulling and or dyno competitions, we can outfit this with a compound turbo application where we have a little bit more cylinder pressure, and it tends to help in high torque applications like a dyno or a sled pull.
Yeah, so you got some turbo options there to fit whatever application I might want to run.
Yep.
And really either way, you're hovering around that 2,000 horsepower capability.
Yes, sir.
Very good. And Jared, you also pointed out that this engine differs in its oil system to the other one, which was a wet sump. This one's got the dry sump set up.
Yep.
Is there any difference in like an AMSOIL product that I might run in an engine like this?
Yeah, so in a full billet block like this, even in a regular conventional street engine, your engine oil actually does a lot of the cooling for the engine as well. In a waterless engine where there's no water in the system at all, you have to rely only on the engine oil, and that's what makes something like a high quality product from AMSOIL such a massive part of keeping an engine like this together.
Sure.
We'll modify clearances in the engine to help keep it alive, and we'll run typically a thicker weight oil to help give it more cushion, but still maintain your oil wedge on the bearings. That is in a competition engine like this, we'll be in the 50 weight range typically, and we do try to preheat these to keep the oil. We can keep the engine a little bit tighter on clearances when we preheat the engine, but these have a pretty narrow operating range. You'll be from like 130 to 150 degree oil temp, and we don't want to be much higher than that. We don't want to start it and run it, lean on it much lower than that. Yeah. And that's been a combination that works really well.
Yeah, very good. Now, obviously we've pointed out there's a number of billet components on this engine, and obviously that makes this whole package just strong and ready to handle some of the high horsepower racing application stuff that I might do with it. But can you talk a little bit about the durability of an engine like this?
Sure.
What are some of the risk factors if I do something stupid?
Sure. So that part's up to you. The competition level stuff, you're leaning on it for all it's worth every single pass.
Yeah.
And so we regularly recommend doing an oil sample, which gives us visibility on what's actually going on with the engine. If we have a ring seal issue, if we have something going on in the turbo, a bearing issue, you can spot that right away. We also regularly use a clear view oil filter at the track, which kind of helps us identify right away, if there's anything going on in the oil system as well. That's that's results right away that day. We would expect to get, depending on how hard you lean on it, at 1,500 horsepower, this would last seasons. At 2,500 horsepower, we would want to rebuild this, probably every few races.
Yeah. Yep. Yeah. All right. Excellent. And again, durable piece with the billet components here, ready to handle that high horsepower. But where would I go from here? Obviously this is, for most guys, dream engine here. But if you wanted to go that next step, what's involved in that?
Right now, this is pretty much the cream of the crop for 6-liter engines.
Yeah.
There is very few engines, especially in the 6-liter realm, that are even in that that ballpark, even in that arena.
Yeah.
And so with that size injector, with the Huey style injectors, there's Warren Diesel's been a huge pioneer there, but there's some limitations compared to like the P pump or the common rail guys that are at or above 3,000 horsepower. And so right now, this is the Warren Diesel block. They've been campaigning that all last year, the billet block in their sled pulling truck. And so far, I don't believe they found the limit to that block. We have these cylinder heads on several other race customers' vehicles, Rudy's and KC Turbos and others, and those have been on some of the highest horsepower Powerstrokes around. And so far, we haven't found a limit to any of those components.
Yeah.
As the industry continues to evolve, we're spinning the engines higher. Horsepower is just a mathematical formula of torque over time, RPM. Trying to spin the engines higher to broaden the torque range has been a #1 goal over the last few years, and Jessel's been absolutely instrumental in helping to raise the bar there. And so as we've gotten valve train that holds together, Jesse Warren and others have run into blocks that were the weak link, and so they were able to and then pistons that were the weak link, and rods. And so Jeremy Wagler stepped up with rods. Yeah. We've had great luck with the Molly Motorsports pistons. The extra bore size helps flow, volumetric efficiency. Again, these are a custom oversized bore piston. That's 200 over, 250 over piston over a factory engine. So it's a lot of extra breathing room there, a lot of extra cubic inches. It really helps raise the bar over what was previously possible.
Sure.
And so in the past, guys would get a season out of a cast iron block, and then they would start to crack in between the cylinders. They would start to crack in the lifter area. And so with the billet block, you actually, aluminum you think of as softer than cast iron. It takes the abuse a lot better. Plus we can put a sleeve in it, and there's so much more material there. Mm-hmm. It's actually a stronger package, and so we can do it also gives us it's a blank canvas, and so we can do a custom head stud, larger diameter head stud or main stud if we needed to. We do roller cam bearings and other things that we if we need to. And so the sky's the limit. Right now we're hoping to find the limit of this. I hope you find the limit, and we'll figure out how to raise the bar next.
Excellent. Like I said, definitely a work of art in terms of engines, and you guys have done your homework as well as a couple other component partners that you guys have in the industry. And I'm excited to see what I can do with this thing. So Jared, appreciate you walking me through this wild build here on the 6-liter. I got to go chat with Evan here and compare and contrast our notes on the two builds and see how this all shook out. But appreciate the time.
Absolutely. Thank you.
All right, guys, so each Evan and I just spent a few minutes walking through our builds with Jared here at Kill Devil Diesel. And now it's time to compare and contrast those builds on a couple different categories. We're gonna go over horsepower per dollar, we're gonna go over drivability, competitiveness, reliability, and ease of upgrading. And then we're gonna see kind of who gets the most bang for the buck and comes out on top this episode.
Yeah.
So let's go into horsepower per dollar first. Evan, do you want to talk a little bit about your mild 6-liter build?
Yeah, so for the mild build, like Jared said, it's making 425 horsepower. That's their, workhorse, base kind of build. And in that regard, you're getting about 1 horsepower per $35. And then on the wild side?
Yeah, so then on the wild side, again, my budget was $45,000, and I'm getting a good 2,000 horsepower. Jared was saying I could maybe stretch that to 2,500. And in that window, it's costing me about $18 to $22 per horsepower. So I'm getting a little bit more bang for the buck on the horsepower per dollar side than you're getting on the mild build.
On the reliability side, the mild build is going to do really well there because, like we said, it's a workhorse build. This is something you throw in your truck, you're using it for work, you can daily drive it, and it's something that's going to last whoever purchased that engine. It's going to last them a long time.
Yeah, you're getting a lot of upgrades for the money, and again, the way you guys are using an engine like that, it's going to last forever. On the wild side, you're getting an excellent build. I mean, the cream of the crop type of stuff, components in there, all the billet goodies that I'm getting. It's going to be a very reliable piece, but I'm going to be beating the hell out of it, racing or sled pulling. Whatever that application is, I'm basically trying to break it, and something's bound to go wrong much sooner and quicker than on Evan's 6-liter build that's meant to last. So check mark goes to the mild build on that one. Let's move on to competitiveness. So you want to start there on the mild side?
Yeah, this kind of engine, 425 horsepower, obviously it's street legal. It's not something you're going to be taking to the racetrack. There is that option if you want to upgrade it, but most people are going to keep it in that 425 horsepower range. If they decide to upgrade and get some better bolt-ons, upgrade the turbo, stuff like that, it'll be closer to 600 horsepower, and that's still something you can ram around in, but it's not something you're going to take to the track or be pulling a sled with.
Yeah, and there's really no competition on the competitiveness segment here. My build, again, has all those billet goodies. It is made for performance and racing applications. So check mark on this category goes to the wild build.
So drivability kind of goes in hand with that reliability aspect. 425 horsepower, that can get up and go, but it's something you take on the street. You're not pushing too hard, and it's something that's going to last you for a long time. Like Jared said, it's got a few upgraded parts like those SBI valves and cylinder head upgrades that give it some power, but as far as drivability is concerned, it's pretty
drivable.
Yeah, it's pretty drivable. Exactly, that's a good way to put it.
Yeah, and on the wild side, again, this engine's really not even a street legal application. You're supposed to just be doing this at the sled pulls or drag racing, again, whatever that racing application might be that you'd be using, an engine like that billet 6 liter is meant for. So really not something you're going to be driving around to any capacity. So got to give the drivability category to the mild side. So where does that leave us? Is that 2-2 right now, with the last category being ease of upgrading?
Right. And I kind of already mentioned it. There is that option to upgrade with bolt-ons, a few other, components that you can put on the mild build, but you can't take it too far. This is an engine that's going to stay street legal, and people are using it for, for work and maybe a little play on the side, but nothing too crazy. And then as far as upgrading the wild engine.
Yeah, so like Evan said, there's a number of things you can do with that $15,000 6 liter build. You can replace some cylinder heads, you can upgrade some turbos, do a couple different things that give it a nice little bump for not too much money. On the wild side, there's some things I can do with fueling and the turbos, and obviously nitrous after the fact, but that all comes at a pretty premium price. And frankly, this build is already at the top level of Powerstroke, engine builds. There's, outside of those couple things I just mentioned, there's not much more I can do to really up the game from here. It's already at bumping the ceiling. Yeah, so because of that, the ease of upgradability category has to go to the mild build. And I think that gives the mild engine the 3-2 victory here for the most bang for the buck, right?
Yeah, and we don't always see the mild build winning, but we talked with Jared, and both of these engine packages are great. And like he said, the mild build is, their top seller. A lot of people are buying it, and for good reason.
Absolutely. Well, all right, guys, that does it for today's episode of Mild versus Wild. I want to say a big thank you to everyone here at Kill Devil Diesel, as well as a big thank you to our sponsors, AMSOIL and SBI. Make sure you're checking out everything that all of those guys do. And of course, make sure you're checking out EngineBuilderMag.com for more engine content. Appreciate you watching, and we'll see you next time.
Thanks for watching, guys.